Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So sorry for being late. It's a heavy day for me. Lots of things are happening, many meetings, so I try my best. We'll have almost 2 hours together. We'll try to end at 3 sharp. So let us start with the discussion today. Last time, just to summarize some of the things which were said, we tried to speak on the terminology to try to understand the meaning of leadership, and with the meaning of leadership to try to understand the different types and fields of leadership. You remember we spoke about all the types of leadership, from spiritual to intellectual to social to political to artistic. And then we also differentiate between principles, means and objectives, and also between principles and sources. You remember? Even talking about the notion of the Islamic references, and we try to come back to what are the main references from an Islamic viewpoint. And we spoke about Al-Quran wa Sunnah, but not only. The intellectual, the cultural sources are also part of what we are talking about when it comes to sources, I mean Islamic sources, and trying to get from the main sources also things that are important when it comes to Qasas al-Quran, and in which way the Qasas are also sources for us when it comes to understanding what are the principles of leadership, role models, and the way we have to understand the Prophet ﷺ, and in which way he is a model of leadership, and many of the things that we can find in the scriptural sources. Now, what we are going to do, and what I ask you to think about, are what are the features of a good leader in order to understand what is leadership. And we said that in all the relationships there is a power element and an authority element, which is very important. So when we speak about leaders, we immediately think about and think of followers. So it's important to understand that the greatness of the leadership is also based and has to do with the followers. Okay, so this is where we are now. So I would say, when it comes to our discussion now, that my first question to you, and you remember you will use the mic in order to be recorded. We are live streamed, and unfortunately for the people who are, and we apologize to them, is that they hear me summarizing, but not you when you talk, because the mic for the live stream is there. So, but everything that you are saying is going to be recorded, and we will have a final product with all what you said and all the interactivity that we have, which is the most important thing. My question to you is, when it comes to the leader now, is what are the main features or qualities that you would expect to see in a leader? Please don't start straight away to think about ethical qualities. We are talking about leader. Ethics could be part of it, but is it the most important thing and the more essential? This is what I want to get from you. Is a good leader ethical by definition? If yes, explain, and if yes, if no, explain as well. But before even coming to this, so what would be for you the competence, the quality that you will find, or you will expect to see in any leader? Okay, so some of you last time didn't speak, some of you spoke a lot, so I want you all to speak a lot. This is the last and final opportunity for you. So who wants to start? Okay.
Okay, so regarding ethical or unethical, just to put that point, I mean, I believe that a leader could be ethical or unethical. It can go both ways.
Yeah, over there. Is it okay?
Okay. Some of the characteristics, I believe, that should be present in a leader is decisiveness. I'll make it short, and if you have any questions about what I mean, you can ask me. Yeah,
So
this
you
is.
want me to question you after you?
If you want, if you want, if it's not clear, or it can mean more than one thing. Decisiveness, commitment, confidence.
What is the first one, by the way?
Decisiveness, like decisiveness. Sorry, decisiveness, commitment, confidence, creativity, negotiation skills, trustworthiness in terms of his goal, not as a person, and communication skills.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Sure.
You try to give me what would be the first that you will think is necessary. What is the first? What you are expecting from a leader is first what?
Commitment.
Decisiveness? Commitment?
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And confidence.
No. Just one.
Okay.
Think about, are you sure?
Yes.
Think about it twice.
Yes, commitment.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, if we're talking in terms of leadership in general, not an Islamic leader or an Islamic perspective.
So that's a good point to start with, because I will ask you to give me the difference. So tell us, what is the first that you are expecting from a leader, and what is the first that you are expecting from a Muslim leader?
A Muslim leader, the first thing is faith. Faith.
A Muslim leader is faith.
Faith, yeah, because it will serve as the driver, whatever he
So
does.
a good Muslim leader is a faithful leader.
Should be faithful first. I mean, his faith. Okay, the next.
How are you going to assess that?
From his actions, of course. Of course, this is something that I may not access because it has to do with internal. No. Okay, now, no, this is what's been expected but by the leader himself. Now, we may not say this, but what we're saying, this is the most important element that needs to be found in him as an individual.
My question is, expecting this
Me.
from him, how are you going to assess that?
Yes, sometimes from his speech, of course.
From his speech?
Yes. From his speech, I can, yeah, because sometimes I can identify the faith of a person from what he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Sure, sometimes, even in terms of like, no, yes, because sometimes we identify like the firak we have, certain speech, can help us identify who's this, who's that. Okay, so the most important thing to me first is faith, because
Okay, faith for a Muslim leader.
Yes.
What else for another leader?
any other leader, even the Muslim leader, knowledge and wisdom.
Knowledge?
And wisdom.
And between knowledge and wisdom, what would be the first?
I prefer knowledge first, because sometimes knowledge, yes, because
Knowledge such as what?
knowledge in leadership, because sometimes
In leadership.
yes, because we're talking in terms of leadership.
So you look at a leader,
Mm-hmm.
how much does she or he know about leadership?
Yes,
This is the first.
this is the first.
And for a Muslim,
Uh-huh.
is it
Before,
he or she
if faith, before knowledge.
faith before knowledge?
Yeah, because why? I may not use faith in general, because maybe a non-Muslim leader, I cannot impose faith on him because he's not a Muslim.
Why do you say non-Muslim leader? Why do you say non-Muslim?
Yeah, because he doesn't believe in what I believe. Faith here, I mean...
Would you be happy if I call you a non-Christian?
Okay. No, it depends anyway.
Why do you call the people of other faiths non-Muslim and you don't like you to be called non-Christian?
No, okay.
Do you like
I
it?
mean,
Do you like if I say, what is your name, by the way?
Muhammad Jalal.
Muhammad, the non-Christian guy.
No. Why I say so? Because there are a lot of religions, a lot of faith other than Islam. When I say non-Muslim, it means any other faith other than Islam.
Why don't you say people of other faith?
Okay, I think that would be the right word. Yes, no, yes, it's better. People of all faith. Yeah, thank you. This I will add it to my vocabulary, inshallah. Okay, good.
That's my point.
Okay.
To avoid the other ones.
Sure.
Move the other one.
Okay. People of other faith. So I don't have to force them to believe in what I believe, because they have the setting that they are ruling. But for a Muslim, the most important thing first is faith before knowledge.
Features that are very important for a Muslim leader, which are different
From other faith, yes. Next is wisdom.
faith.
Other faith. Of course, with no faith, yeah, sure. But it's also faith. They believe in...
You want to summarize? You want to add something?
Yeah, wisdom, of course. Yeah, wisdom is general, not only in leadership, because sometimes even knowledge alone is not enough. You sometimes you go against certain principles of knowledge through your wisdom, and that wisdom is part of the knowledge at the time.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Like for you said, what is the first quality of a leader should have? Like for me, if there is a leader, I prefer the character to be trustworthy and honest person, like a person who I can trust of reaching the goals with the means.
Is it for Muslims or also for people?
Actually, it should be also for Muslim leaders, especially like honest.
So how do you trust somebody?
From his actions. If he do whatever he said.
Do you agree that faith is important?
For a Muslim?
No, for everybody.
For me as a Muslim, I would like, yeah, if a leader is a Muslim, it will be for us as a Muslims, it will be better. But
Trust somebody who has no faith?
actually, who has no faith.
Sorry?
If I trust somebody if he has no faith,
A leader who has no faith, you trust him or her?
actually, if he has a character, I would not judge a person from his religion, because there is people who have their own faith, but like when they work as a leadership, they work for the people. Like I should not judge a person from his
How do you assess trust? How do you get trust? This trust is coming
from actions.
So you look at the people, the way they behave.
Yeah, from the way they behave.
In which way?
Look, as a leader, we are looking as a leader.
Yeah.
If he do at least what he promised, if he promised something and he work for doing these things, maybe he may not reach them, but at least he.
If I say to you, for example, I'm a leader, I'm going to kill them all, I kill them all.
No, I mean, this is not a goal. This is not the goal of my leader.
But it's a goal for me.
But I'm saying,
Leader, kill them all, that's fine, I'm going to kill.
okay, but you are not my leader. I'm looking for my leader. If I am gonna follow, I'm gonna follow someone. With the way, if I'm gonna follow someone and want him to be my leader, I should have believe in his ideas and his goals.
So first you need to have the same goals.
This is what we said, that have same goals. I believe in what he's gonna do, so I trust him.
Remember what we said last time?
What about what leadership?
I have the same goal, but I can inspire you
To have the same goals.
If at the beginning you don't trust that we have to kill them all, and at the end I inspire you to kill them all, I'm not a good leader?
Yeah, you could be a good leader. And the way you convincing. No,
I could or I am. You came.
and ethically, maybe we are not talking. In the ethical way,
I'm not talking. I told you.
and I'm not. And the ethical way, it may not be good.
Ethically.
But as a leader who has the ability his ability of inspiring or influencing, as much as get higher, he's a better leader.
You came to me, not convinced that we have to kill them all.
Hmm.
I convince you that we have to kill them
You
all.
inspire
At
us.
the end, I kill them all.
And
I'm not a good leader.
yes,
So that's it. So what is a good leader then?
his ability, we said, the power of influence, as the one who has a power of influence or inspire, it depends to what is, if I came with an idea, or
The quality is the power to influence.
yeah, to power the influence or inspire.
This is a good leader. Whatever is influencing the people.
But you said what is for me the first things I look for a leader, to be trustworthy.
Okay. On what? This was my second question.
If he promised something to do something, like to benefit the goals that I believe in, regardless if he convinced me with his goals or he influenced me with his ideas, or he inspire me.
So for you, a good leader should be ethical in any way, in all way possible. He has to be ethical. That's a good leader for you.
Yes,
You cannot imagine an unethical good leader.
yes, for me.
It's impossible.
He may, like, it's possible to have an unethical good leader, but for me, I prefer him to be an ethical, because if he's an ethical,
Don't tell me I prefer. I'm not asking you what you prefer. I'm asking you define a good leader.
you said the first things
In an objective way, not in
in an objective way.
preference. Not
In an objective way. If the one whose followers has a trust on him, this is a good leader.
okay, even if he's going to kill everybody.
Yes, it happens.
So Hitler.
Hitler, yeah, he was killing everybody, and he was a good leader.
Goering was saying, I don't have a conscience. My conscience is Hitler.
Yes. During the war, like for his influence, his influence on his people, he convinced them that, let's say, during World War II.
So if I listen to you beyond the ethical qualification is the power to influence.
Yes.
Okay. To the point that they trust him or her.
Yes.
Get it? Yeah?
Do you mind if I?
Yes, just the mic, please.
I know I didn't raise my hand before, but since the microphone is going this way, I just want to interject if you don't mind. I'm just going to say one thing, and I think I said it before, giving an example of family or whatnot, but I'm going to say the word is service. Remember when I was talking, I said last time that you could have somebody who is the youngest member of the family, but if they invest in the relationship with everybody, some sort of caring, then that person is considered the leader. So the word is service. That's what I think. A leader needs to be able to serve.
That's very ethical.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wasn't thinking about service in an ethical way.
Service is a very nice way of putting an ethical.
Well, the way it translates for me is investing in a relationship, investing in something that actually matters.
It's very ethical. Okay. You are so imbibed with ethics that you don't know when you are putting it. So this is an objective way that you see, for example, in the examples that we are talking about, if you see a leader and the people are following what he or she is saying or doing, you don't see this as good, you don't see him or her as a leader.
No, I mean, but the people following that person.
Can't you accept somebody, leadership as something, the power to be served and not to serve? If I have the power to be served to the point that I convince you to serve me, you would say that's not leadership. So it's, what is it?
The boss.
Sorry?
He's the boss, B-O-S-S. He's the boss, but not necessarily the leader.
The boss is not the leader.
No.
What is the difference between the boss and the leader?
I think the leader is serving. The leader is involved with the people. I mean, they share that journey together. The boss could sit somewhere separate and say, go do this. I mean...
But if I convince you to do it?
Sometimes people don't really know what they want. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, yes, but what it's implied in all what you are saying is very ethical. It's a moral qualification, the way you see it.
Okay, well, then take an initiative. A leader takes initiative.
This is the first thing.
Yeah.
A leader takes initiative.
Yes.
That's the first quality.
That's the first, unethical or not ethically classified quality, yes. Thank you.
I think the first quality I would look in a good leader would be strength or power, because without it, he can't deliver. And a good leader is also someone who delivers or who can deliver on his promises.
But which type of power? Can't you be a powerless leader?
Without any sort of power, I don't think
no,
it's possible.
That's why I'm asking you which type of power are you talking about? Because I might have no power, and then at the same time you can see good leadership with no physical or...
The power to influence or to inspire. It doesn't have to be... Yeah, it's always the same. It doesn't have to be power to... power of the military.
So look, how are you going to influence me?
Spiritually, maybe.
Sorry?
Spiritually, maybe.
Okay.
In which field are you going to? How are you going to do that? How are the people are going to be influenced by somebody? How could you? Can't you put something which is, in order to be influential, there is something else which is needed? Don't you think so?
Maybe I would say then wisdom. Wisdom, because wise people are people who look beyond what's obvious.
So you think that with wisdom you can influence me?
Maybe.
But if you are silly and wise at the same time?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, it's an example. If you are silly or stupid and wise at the same time, are you going to influence me?
Hardly. But if we're looking for one single quality, which to begin with, then I would go with wisdom. Wisdom.
Not being
stupid. Yeah.
So wisdom first.
I would go with wisdom. Yes.
So a stupid, wise leader.
It's oxymoron, I think.
No, why not? Don't you,
Wise and stupid at the same time.
Stupid and wise?
I think stupid people can say sometimes wise things, but
Yeah. The way in the very old Greek tradition, the only fact that you are stealing is a sign of wisdom.
ah,
You don't care. So, where are you? Or where are we?
I'll go with wisdom.
Okay, thank you. You raised your hand before, so now you're avoiding. Why? I saw you raising your hand. So why are you?
Yes, I did, but actually, a few of my colleagues, they already, yeah.
So just repeat what you wanted to say.
No, I wanted to say the same thing, like to mention the characteristic what they mentioned, like that one leader should be like faithful, he should be knowledgeable, he should have like superior, faithful, yeah. To people, for example, to fulfill their needs and objectives. As we mentioned, he's over there to serve the needs of the people. He's like looking more.
So it's all quite ethically oriented, what you are saying.
That's right.
You don't have an objective quality that you would say, this is it. This is what is needed.
It depends from culture to culture. What is acceptable in one culture doesn't mean.
No, I'm going to push you. Even from an Islamic viewpoint, would you say that in Islam, what we are expecting from a leader is first to be ethical? Would you say that?
Yes. Yes. Because our action should be based on our. Yes, because our action should be based on morality.
So you'd say that?
That's my opinion, yeah.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the balance between being people-oriented and goal-oriented, and I think finding that balance, when a leader finds that balance, I think that there's wisdom in that.
There is wisdom in what?
In finding a balance between being people-oriented and goal-oriented.
Okay, my question is, what is the first quality you are expecting in a leader? No, you can't come with a diplomatic answer saying it's a balancing between this and that.
No, I think that's they're talking about wisdom. I think there's wisdom in that, where you're cultivating leadership skills with the people that are under you or the followers, while also achieving the goal that you're trying to achieve, but not compromising either one. I think the Prophet ﷺ did a great job of that.
What did he do?
I think he cultivated, like the Sahaba, that he the leadership skills that he cultivated in the Sahaba by some of the delegation, the Shura, when he could have just gotten divine guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was able to do that without compromising some of the goals that he was trying to go after.
Okay, so what was the first quality?
The quality is being able to balance between being people-oriented or goal-oriented. Yes. That balance is wisdom, I think.
So it's wisdom.
I think that balance is wisdom, yeah.
This is what you are expecting from a leader.
I think if we are to find a leader like that, I think it's.
Is it not ethically oriented? Will you, for example, go to any transnational corporation and say, you know what, the good leader is the one who is people oriented and goal oriented?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I can't remember the exact name of the hedge fund, but it talks about the culture. It's one of the most successful.
Sony agrees with you?
I think having a work culture that empowers people.
No, I'm not asking about this. I'm asking about the first quality you're expecting from a CEO. Balancing?
Between the goal, yeah, I think so. I think so.
I think the first quality, if we're not discussing Islamic, I think the first quality that I would choose would be evidence of success, like proven success. So
the first quality is for somebody who was successful in the past?
Yeah, or that he's able to prove his capabilities.
Okay, so a good leader should show that
he was in the past, or that he has the ability to do the task at hand. So every project has a different...
Imagine you just encounter or meet with me today. By definition, I cannot be a good leader in your eyes.
No, but let's say that we're taking on a certain project and you prove yourself. But why would I put you in at the leadership position without knowing you, without having...
So how could you, by definition, I cannot be a good leader for you before you know if I was a good leader?
No, either in the past or now. You can prove yourself now as we go, you can say, or you can even discuss it directly.
So that's exactly my question, is that you cannot tell me a good leader has to have proved that he was or she was a good leader. So now what are you expecting from me? This is the first time you meet me. What are you expecting from me to show you that I am a good leader?
I think, presence, of course, but I think we all have to be convinced of something though, right? Initially, I mean, how can I know that you're wise or that you're strong or that you have certain capabilities?
To prove you first that I'm wise. So here we are. I'm very, very wise.
I don't know. I still think that it's very important that, exactly, so. No. No. But I still think there has to be, okay, let's say we throw out whatever was in the past, but there has to be some litmus test that shows or...
What? That's exactly my question. What?
I mean, maybe sometimes you just have to have faith that the person that's sitting in front of you is telling you truth. Like if you're going to tell me we're going to do a construction project and I want to be the leader because I have so-so on record, and maybe you have to trust. I don't think trust is the first. I don't think trust is the first thing.
Is it good for a follower to trust somebody in such a way?
But in the same way that you're... But in the same way that you're questioning the previous answer that I gave you, I mean, how can you know that anybody is wise or that anybody has strength or knowledge? Yeah, no. I think proven success. That's why, or proven success or strength in the ability to show that you can take on a certain project.
And thank you, Doctor. You are always giving the critical and the difficult questions. I would like to answer in two levels. The first of all, I don't believe there is a single quality that would... The first quality. No, I mean that it's a comprehensive issue. When we define leadership as a set of principles with sense of direction toward an objective and having this, the means toward that, I would believe this combination would define a leader. And
so there is no first every time.
It's yes.
It's not always the same depending on the field. It's changing. The first would be changing. Is what you mean? The first quality could be another one depending on what you have
on the situation and on the delivering the answer for the question. I believe that, for instance, a leader with all the qualities, if he was so rough on his followers, ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك. He's the prophet. He has the message. He has the sense of direction toward this life and the life after. And the God Almighty says that if you are tough on your followers, they will not follow you. So he will lose this leadership if he was not empathetic. He was not having empathy with the people. I believe empathy is as a core issue in leadership, because you need يعني لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. So he's among you, so the followers believe that he's one of you. He's living with you. He's not something superior or virtual. and he is feeling for you. He knows, he diagnoses your problems. He knows well assessing the needs of his people, and then he knows the way, or convinces his people that he knows how to lead them from this point toward the objective that he influences, or he sells to his people, if I may, in this. Yani he gives them the sense and the influence to.
Broaden the picture, but you avoid my question. Now I'm coming back to my question. With all what you said, can we extract, draw from what you said, one main quality or not? That is common.
That is common. You've, yani for instance, you took off the ethical part, but I believe that conviction and sense of direction is
Conviction and sense
of direction with the empathy of the people.
He knows where we are heading.
Yes,
This is it.
I believe this is so, and all the other issues would, I think, be supportive in building this role model.
You completely agree with me when I'm saying we are heading to kill all of them.
No, this is yani the.
Well, we need to kill them all.
No, this is what.
Empathy without torturing them.
No, I believe no. The ethics would be in the core of the issue, because there is the principles has the values. That's why we call the man of principle, who has this sense of direction and he has the good means toward that. I believe principles cannot be avoided. Yani it's like built in. Yani وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيم. This is the first credential.
For you, principles or ethics or ethical values come first in defining a leader.
This is critical. Why? Because yani, a man, the best man of principle, if he lacks the sense of direction, it's good for him.
That's fine, but I'm asking a question. The sense of direction comes first or ethical values first?
Depending what, if you are talking about a good leader,
I'm talking about the leader. You put good. I never asked about the good leader. I'm asking about the leader.
a leader who can convince his people of having.
If you agree with me that it could be good leaders and bad leaders.
Yes.
In the good leaders and bad leaders, there is something in the leader before being good and bad. I want this.
I believe empathy, because he would be convincing his people. Sorry?
It's a good leader.
No, but my empathy can be forged. I mean that if I, for instance, I'm a bad leader for followers, if I cannot convince them that I feel for them and I have the solution for their problem, I will not. For them, I'm so empathetic. You've mentioned Hitler, for instance. He was for his own people that he would serve them to prevail on the world. He's giving them this. He's selling them this idea. It's a bad idea, and it's not ethical. It's not of value. It's not against humanity. But he was leading his people to their destined perish. So, I believe principles are in the core. But yes, you need the sense of direction and the empathy with the people.
Okay, thank you.
Quality the leader. I believe he's supposed to be a strategic planner who can motivate the current resources and motivate them in determined goals.
You agree with the fact that he has to be influential?
He has to be influential, and he has to, exactly, and who can motivate the resources itself,
So,
the current resources. Yeah.
Whoever you are, the way you are going to, how are you going to inspire me? Again, it's all the same question. Do you need something to be able to inspire me?
Inspiration means leader. inspiration, the person who has the power of influencing.
Don't you need something else to be able to inspire the people?
Believing.
Believing.
Yes.
Believing in what?
Believing on the goal that you want to achieve.
For example, you believe deeply with all your heart that we have to kill people. So you're going to inspire them.
Actually, there are some leaders who believe in that.
Sorry?
There are some leaders who believe in that.
Yeah.
Like the new killer people, that the nuclear bomb people that want just a nuclear war and killing the people, and they're going to win. Yeah, they are leaders. Boko Haram, they are leaders on a certain way.
Very powerful leaders.
Yes,
for how to inspire.
Yes, exactly.
So they are leaders.
Yes.
Bad leaders.
We are not talking about bad or good, right? Huh? I didn't say bad or good. We are not talking about this one. We are talking about leadership and the influencing of this.
You are going to the question after this question. So you would say Daesh, the leaders of Daesh are bad leaders. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, they are leaders.
But they are leaders because they are leading.
They are inspiring people.
They are inspiring specific of people, a huge group of people.
Based on what?
Based on a vision they have, a vision for Islamic country, which could be wrong for certain of people and could be right for other people.
So the good leader is the one who knows the goal.
Who know the goals and who can influence the other group of people with their vision.
Okay. Would you say that this is the first quality?
Actually, this is the second step. Yeah, this is the second step. The first one is to choose the leader himself.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Have you been already a follower?
Have I what? I'm sorry?
Have you been in your life a follower? Have you been following a leader?
Of course.
Whoever, yes?
Islam. I'm following Islam.
That's what my question.
As a leader, yes, of course.
As a leader.
Yes.
What was the first thing that you were expecting?
In my organization, I'm following my manager. He's a leader of my organization.
Okay, why are you following him?
Because leadership, I believe leadership itself is a situation who could be fulfilled by other person.
Why are you following him?
Because he is the leader. Why I'm following him? I can have wrong.
Because it's written just with his name. The
Yes.
leader, the CEO. So you follow blindly because it's written.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. You have to. And then the second step. No. And then if your principle is misleading with him or mismatched with him, you can just quit or you can find another job. Isn't it?
Next. You want to say something? If you don't, you just leave the mic.
Hello. Thank you.
Who wants to speak?
Yeah, actually, it's thoughts, so I'm not sure.
You want to say something? Go ahead.
I think it's the ability of the leader to accomplish goals and also look at the interests of his people at the same time.
So can you choose one out of these two?
No, I think both of them are necessary. I think the first one.
Sorry?
The first one. Ability to accomplish goals.
Ability to accomplish goals. What
Yes.
does it mean as a quality?
I think it can be related to success, as he said.
Okay, so you look at his or her past.
Because I think a good leader is...
A good leader has a good past.
How do I explain this?
A good leader has to have a good past.
I think a good leader is...
He has some credential.
I think a good leader is committed and easily accomplishes the goals he sets.
Okay, so you are not giving me a quality yet. I want the name of a quality. Committed?
Accomplishing.
Accomplish?
Accomplishing.
Accomplishing.
Okay.
The good leader is accomplishing. So if somebody fails, he cannot be a good leader. He cannot be a leader and fail.
I didn't say that he has to be accomplishing every single time he does something, but at an overall rate, yeah.
How many Think about it. These are very important questions, by the way. You have, who wants to say something?
Yeah.
Okay. Next time we'll just give the floor to, because now everybody is talking. That's good.
I think the key thing is actually authority. Yes, in the case of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu the Quran actually says that he was given the authority. So other features actually follows that.
So you have to obey the Prophet, peace be upon him, so he had the authority. That's a good leader.
Good.
A leader, the first thing that you have to expect is the authority.
Yes.
So how are you going to identify the authority in somebody?
Well, they...
For example, between you and me, forget about all,
I didn't get that.
all of them. Do you see the authority here?
I see it.
So you decided this authority?
No, you're coordinating the whole house, actually.
The authority came to you through my position.
Yes.
So you acknowledge the fact that I'm a leader because it was said before you came here that the authority is on that side.
Yes.
That's enough for you to be a leader.
It's enough.
Some authority.
Yep.
You can't be a leader with no authority.
Most cases, it has to be authority first.
Right?
It has to be the authority first.
When comes authority?
The authority?
Yeah.
Well, it may be, if it's political, it may be actually through election, for example.
Yeah. So it's institutional.
Sometimes.
So a leader in your private life, are you going to identify his or her authority?
Yes.
Institution. How are you going to do that?
Well, in the case of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was actually... Well, actually, the first thing has to be the authority. Whichever way we look at it. For example, in the case of a family, for instance, the family believes that the father has the authority. I mean, there's social values of even Islam itself. The Quran said it. So the authority...
It's always like that. Even though it is said institutionally, you can't find that in some family, the wife has the authority.
Well, in most cases, actually, the authority is the first thing to look out for.
Is what?
The first thing to look out for, really.
Okay, so for you is authority.
Yes.
Okay. Who else? You want to say something?
Yes. For me, the first quality will be the capacity to inspire. I mean, to inspire. Yeah, so I think, yeah.
So that's enough for you.
Yeah, it's enough for me.
You don't know where it's coming from, but as soon as you have the capacity to inspire.
Yes, because so much goes into that. Yeah.
But I can be stupid and inspire.
Yeah, so if you're able to do that, then you are a leader. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you are a leader. Yes. Yeah.
Now we have enough. Sorry, it took time.
No problem.
Say something afterward? No? No, after you have to go ahead.
Can I? Okay, well, before inspiring, I think that very first manner or feature has to be knowledge, actually. Knowledge. Actually, the knowledge has many dimension. It can come also, it's coming also with wisdom and humility.
Who said that? Are you not qualifying knowledge into an ethical framework? Why knowledge should be wise?
Why knowledge should be?
Wise.
No, but we cannot find that it's difficult to be wise without having a knowledge.
Iblis in the Quran is knowledgeable. He even knows the very presence of God. He's knowledgeable, but
he
it's
is.
not. It's not.
Wise.
It's neither wise nor humble. It's the opposite. أنا خير منه. And he knew that God was there. أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين. So he knew, but he rejected. He denied what he knew was truth.
Because he did not have another qualities that are also expected from leader.
But the shaitan is a leader or not?
Yes.
He's a leader.
Yes, he is a leader, but what? Yes, they have opportunity to follow the shaitan. Yes. We are.
The shaitan is the leader. Okay? You just acknowledge that the shaitan is the leader. Based on his knowledge?
Based on what he is doing.
So, what is the first quality? What he's doing or his knowledge?
He has to have a knowledge. Without having a knowledge, how he can get the authority? This is where we are entering to the authority.
You said knowledge, wisdom, authority. Which comes first?
Knowledge.
Knowledge?
Knowledge depends of the field that we are leading the people. Some the colleague mentioned that some of requirements that has to be found in leader to be worshipper. Pardon?
What is shaitan's knowledge to make him a leader?
He know what is his knowledge?
To make him a leader. Because he's a leader, you admitted that.
He is inspiring.
So his knowledge is what? Is that he's inspiring the people?
He is guiding them. He is guiding them in a certain way.
So his knowledge is to inspire.
No, he has a knowledge.
So the knowledge of what? I'm just asking.
The knowledge of Iblis.
And he's very much inspiring people. So what is his knowledge all about?
He knows how to inspire people.
So it's the knowledge of inspiring.
Yes.
In all the fields.
About Iblis?
About Iblis and others.
I cannot make similarity between the Iblis and the leaders that we are talking now. This is something to be competent, specialized in the field that you are promoting yourself, that you can lead the people.
Okay, so this is the first?
Well, we cannot avoid this quality.
Is the first one?
Well, some fuqaha say it's second. If we see.
What is your name?
My name is Sabina.
Sabina.
Yes.
Faqiha Sabina. What is the first one?
Well, this is general question. I mean, if we are saying for the jurist, it can be.
I'm asking you. The first quality.
I have to see a knowledge in a person who's gonna lead me. I have to see that. And what about the? No, because there are many common manners in Muslim leaders and non-Muslim leaders. What is specific to our leadership in Islam? Well, probably today one of the most important characteristic for non-Muslim leaders, but can be common, is charisma. What is called charisma, some unique quality that. Yes, this is. You can be, sometimes is wanted from you to have a to be charismatic.
Would you put it as one of the first?
Not at all, not at all. No. But this is what you have mentioned about with colleague, some bad leaders. I'm not going to say that they are bad, but they are unsuccessful. But what they have is charisma. They are attractive.
So you can be a charismatic, failing leader.
Charismatic? No, they are charismatic. They are charismatic. And what actually is today, when we are talking about leadership and we do, for example, literature review, we can find Islamic charismatic leadership. And this is quite different to what we are talking now about principles in Islam.
It's a type of leadership, but I was not talking about this. It's a type of leadership, charismatic leader.
It's a type of leadership, yeah. But it's today it's related to Islamic.
Okay.
This is why, yeah.
That's all. Thank you. Nobody wants here? You wanted to say something?
Can I cannot mention other manners? No.
I'm just asking for one, so you can speak, and then you, and then I will summarize the first. Yes, okay.
Okay. According to me, I think that the first, the most important manner or quality in a leader should be the ability to figure out the capabilities and the skills of the members of his team, and to be able to drive them and mobilize them, motivate them towards, achieving the goals. Well, I haven't attended the first, part of the lecture.
Good summary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll just quickly say I want to reiterate. So I agree with the first important quality is the ability to influence or inspire, because we said that it could happen both ways. And this ability is broken down into two parts, in my opinion. Understanding the people that you're leading, and then based on wisdom, of course, knowing how to influence or inspire. So I would say the ability to influence or inspire.
So I think the first characteristic that to see in a leader is confidence, because without the confidence, and if the leader doesn't know his objective clearly and he's not convinced about the objective, I don't think he can lead his followers. So once he's
how is he or she going to be confident?
When he's clear about the objective and he can.
That's the objective. Know what you want to achieve.
Yeah, you know it. So once you know it, you'll be able to influence your followers towards
I
the.
know the goals, but I'm doubting.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doubting. You have to be convinced about the goal.
Convinced and confident is the same. Convinced as to the objectives and confident as your capacity to achieve is the same.
Well, it has to be the same thing.
It has to be.
It has
to be.
Because, like, if first you have to be convinced about the thing, and you have to be confident about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are two different things. You agree?
Yeah, they're different, but it has to be first convinced.
Which one comes first?
Or the conviction.
The conviction.
Yeah.
Even if you feel that I might not be able to make it.
It should come together. Like, you have to be convinced and then confident about.
Convinced and confident. And convinced is the first.
Yeah, convinced.
Okay, last.
Hi. Well, if I have to choose only one characteristic, is he or she has to be strategic. Strategic, yes, methodic, or it means that the leader knows a route, a critical route, knows how to achieve. So the leader is strategic in the way that he knows better than the followers the steps that better help to achieve a goal or a set of goals. So when you asked before, if you ask him if he has been a follower before, I was thinking of myself, and I remember that I have been a follower myself. And what I had felt attraction about my leaders, it was that I was attracted to the plan they have, the idea of a state, of country. I like the plan they have to achieve this state or condition. So I feel attracted by the route, the critical route, by the path they are proposing. So I think the characteristic is to be a strategist. Yes.
So I need to be strategic in the way I'm telling my followers we are going to kill them all.
Yes.
So I'm a leader.
If this strategy leads you to convince or to influence, so the quality has to be a strategist.
Okay. Not to be convinced about the goals, not to be confident about my capacity.
Yes, that comes later.
What if I doubt my capacity to follow the strategy?
That's a problem. But I think as a strategist is it's inherent his confidence in the strategy.
By definition, confident?
I think so. That's why he's a good strategist. That's why he's a good strategist, because he's a strategist in the way that he.
But he can be strategist and knowing how you deal with your doubt.
He must have a strategy to get out of the doubt.
Oh, okay. The strategist of all strategies.
Yeah, he's the leader.
He's the leader.
Okay, so I want to reiterate some of the points made, but I think a lot of what was said, it relates back to the relationship of power between the leader and the follower. And so all of these points, whether it's faithfulness, whether it's the other things, it relates back to whether the leader is able to maintain their authority or their presence or their influence upon the followers. And as soon as that's broken, then the leadership, it dissolves. And just one example that I can think of is in the story of Moses and Pharaoh. And when Moses or the magicians, they saw that Moses actually, what he came with is not magic, and they recognized that Pharaoh, we're not going to follow you anymore. Like the authority Pharaoh had over them was completely destroyed, and so he no longer became a leader. His leadership was completely, it was annihilated essentially. So I think it's this ability to maintain influence, it has to be. And all of the points mentioned, they come back to this point.
Keeping the authority.
This balance of power and always maintaining an authority. It can be through many ways, like if it's faithfulness, so somebody feels that this person is more faithful, or for that reason, I want to follow this person for that reason. It could be many different reasons, but yes, to many different things, many different, yeah.
Many different.
Yeah.
So what makes you or made you a follower? Why are you following this man and this woman? Because I'm sure you are following.
Okay.
The leadership of a woman.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. My mother, for example, is one example.
So what made her a leader?
Well, again, it comes back to. That's one reason, but also because from an Islamic perspective, you have to respect your parents, etc. So it's a given.
Of your mother
yeah.
or any person came from the specific status given to him or her by the revelation or by the institution.
Yes.
That's it.
It's one reason, but there are other reasons why my mother because I was dependent. Okay, one of them is because I am dependent upon her. I was in a relationship of dependence, so because I needed her, so she therefore had. This is one reason. It's one reason. It's because of love, and also love. Okay, with my mother, it'd be love, maybe. Yeah.
So what is the relationship between authority and love?
Because it relates back to the influence again. So if I am in love with a person or somebody's beloved to me, it means that they have a certain type of influence over me. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. Because
so somebody that you love has a kind of leadership upon you.
Sure, yeah. Upon the heart, upon they may influence you to do certain things. Yeah.
Okay.
Say something very quick.
Very quick.
Yeah. Like I said before, it should be the power of influence, but I prefer the initiatives because no leader he has to start with something. If he didn't go with initiate something, he will not be a leader. Like let's say for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the God sent him Jibreel, but let's say if he doubts his potential and he didn't go and go for the message to send it, this is the initiative. He starts the da'wah. So here starts the leadership. If he does not have the initiation and the initiative, there is nothing. He cannot be a leader.
Okay. So now you change a bit. It's more initiative.
Before the influence of, the power of influence.
Okay, if I listen to you, just imagine that I just came and I will listen to you. The idea that I can have about leadership is completely scattered. You said almost everything, and I was asking you once. From wisdom to authority to knowledge to keeping the power relationship to inspiring to empathy to okay, all this. While in fact, if you come to something which is essential, and in fact it was in what you said, because you said it and you added in a very quick way, but by all standards, when we speak about leadership, gives authority to somebody, gives an understanding that in this field he or she is wise or can inspire. The first thing that came with all the messengers, all the prophets, and you can find in every single field when it comes to education, when it comes to transnational corporation, when it comes to politics, the only thing that you are expecting from somebody as a leader is competence. This is what you said. You said knowledge, and then by pushing you said competent. Yes, in the field, I know what I'm talking about. And if the Prophet, peace be upon him, is al-Mukhtar, the chosen one, because he had the competence. He's the one who knew. His knowledge is not... So with this, I can be inspired. But if you are silly, you don't know anything about this, how am I going to be inspired? Even if you are the best strategist, if you are incompetent, so leader has to do with competence. And competence is a way you deal with your knowledge in the specific field, which is essential. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمَلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَن يُتْقِنَ الْإِتْقَانِ. It means the knowledge, what we are talking about. So you see with all the messengers, they were knowing. And then when the authority is coming out of your competence. It's coming when, for example, in the story that was, sometimes it was referred to Abu Hanifa, but in fact it's a story with Ibn Hanbal. He was expecting somebody with a specific competence, but huwa fasiq, he's a pervert man. He said, his perversion is for him, his competence is for us. We take the competence, and it's exactly what happened when the Prophet, peace be upon him, left Mecca. He took from the competence of the enemy. You are good in helping us to leave Mecca, so you will use your competence, so you will be our leader here. In this, leaving Mecca to Medina. So, and then when Umar ibn al-Khattab took a Christian to be and to lead the market in Mecca was about what? Competence. So this is something which is essential, which is beyond. So in every field, competence comes first before any moral qualification. Meaning that the authority and the power that you will get has to do with your competence. So this is something which is essential when it comes to, and comes with the competence is in every field. For example, in some situation, your competence should not go with empathy. In some others, it has to be. So the sub-qualification are coming depending on the field. But in the field of science or school, the role model is the competent one. But be careful, competence doesn't mean that you don't fail. Competence means you acknowledge when you fail. So in the story of the companion coming to the Prophet, is this coming from Allah or coming from your mind about where they were in Azad was bad? Acknowledging the fact that here I am competent enough to acknowledge the fact that you are more competent than me on that. That's a question of competency. Okay? Al-Itqan, that you know what you are talking about. So this is where the authority. So you can see here that you can add to this all the moral qualification that you are adding to this, and it's something which is essential here. Competence in a field is also, as you were saying, the ability and the capacity to listen. To listen to the people is something which is also so important. We are competent in a field where you acknowledge the fact that you don't get it all, that you can get from the followers, that you can get. So, shura, amruhum shura baynahum means what? He's the one. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم, meaning that you have to acknowledge their authority, but their authority, أمرهم شورى بينهم, means that the one who is leading you is able to listen to you. And this is why he is competent. This is the way we deal. أمرهم شورى بينهم means this is the way they are dealing with the decision process. Is the leader is listening, and his competence is to know how to listen. So which is exactly the same when Musa alayhi salam is talking to the magicians, when they were asking, do you first throw us? I say, bal alqu, come with your arguments. My competence is not to speak first. My competence is to be able to listen to what you have. So I will know the nature of your authority on the matter. So you get that? So that's essential. Competence is universal in everything which has to do with leadership. It's universal. Now, the qualification of competence is depending on the field, on the culture, and even the nature of your followers. That's very important. So there are sub-qualifications, but the first is this competence. And there is a second one, which you did not mention, which is essential. In now, there is an objective side of it and a moral side of it. So when, for example, it is said, and this is something which is also important, is that when you have a kind of authority based on your competence. So the authority, it's coming from your competence. It's not coming from the fact that you don't listen. So this is what we call, so now we are coming from the leadership from a universal frame to something which is very important when it comes to something which is universal and at the same time it's very ethical. So what do you have to do to assess? Because you were saying keeping the relationship of authority. So it could be based on the competence. What else is important? So for example, when it is said, Musa alayhi salam, when he's saying, Bal alqu, come with your argument. What is the next step? He's talking about, okay, show me your competence. Okay? Show me your competence. So, and they were saying, okay, what comes just next after this? Yeah?
I would like to imitate you. I just say one word. Confidence. It means confidence in what you have to lead them. You have the competence and you have the confidence of being able to lead them or to defeat. Yeah. I took, yeah.
Yes, but the confidence is coming out of your competence in the field.
Yeah.
Okay, you can be confident. By the way, it's not always the case that you can be competent,
Hmm.
you can be doubting.
Steadfastness.
So, you know, when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq seeing the Prophet ﷺ praying and staying in a sujood for a long time and saying, that's enough. What could be the understanding? That he's staying, praying Allah for a long time before Badr. If you look at, you know, his competence, but at the same time he's relying on
Allah, faith.
But it could be that at a very specific time, to come too close and say you're relying on Allah, that could be also a sign that you are doubting your own human force and relying on Him.
No, you are confident in that Allah will help you because, because here he's confident that his prayers will be answered by Allah. So the confidence here is not in himself, but he needs two things. Confidence that Allah will answer his dua, and that's it.
Okay, so this could be a qualification of what we call this competence.
Okay.
Something else that in front of the people, in the way we are dealing with them, is something which is important.
I'm just thinking about the competence. For me, I think sometimes you can be very, very competent and you can still fail as a leader. So I don't know, should the competence be first? Because sometimes, let's say, if let's say you are a president, you can be very, very competent, but if you're not able to manage relationships, you might not succeed. So in that case, so I don't know, is a competence relative?
Competence?
Yeah. Yeah, like it's relative. Like I mean, it depends on the situation, or it depends on the field.
No, as I said, competence doesn't mean that you know it all. By the only fact that you don't know it all, that you are listening to the followers, that you can show empathy, that you are listening, as we said, just show, I'm listening. So you, all this is about you are aware, you care about them. So you get their perceptions, their failures, their doubts. You are close to the people. Now, a leader is doing this. When you are talking about keeping the relationship, caring about the followers, being involved, what will keep this leadership alive or in motion or effective in the way you deal with the followers? What do you need? Which is something which once again is essential in all the group that we have. So 1 and 2. So the mic, please, where is that? So give it to and then we come back to it.
Well, again to Iblis, I would say wisdom. You have to have wisdom.
He was wise.
No, he wasn't.
So now you are qualifying the good leader.
Yes. Thank you.
So
I think
beyond that, something which is at the same time objective but could be understood in ethical terms, which with a leader that we are expecting? Is it my wisdom? Nothing else?
Nothing else. Maybe it can be.
If I'm asking it.
Yeah, please.
It should be something, no?
If somebody want to interrupt.
I was thinking maybe faith in action.
What does it mean?
It's similar to itqan, yani perfecting what you're doing on a daily basis and you're working, and I think that comes after competence.
How are you going to know if I'm mutamakkin or I know what I'm doing?
I mean, we would have set out the goal or the vision for what we had. So
What do you do with this?
you're working towards that in a certain way. So
How do you know that you are heading the right way?
I think it depends on what you're going towards, obviously. I mean,
So what? How are you going to do that?
depending on, you know, maybe the people that you put around you, so that you have a full understanding of the direction. I don't know, maybe vision then, but I still think faith in action is the thing that will continue to bring people together, so that you move into a certain way and that people still believe in you and what you're doing. But I don't think I answered your question fully.
How are you going to still believe in somebody? He's competent or she's competent. That's enough. You just came here and I told you, and you saw in my past yesterday.
I said it was similar to competence, by the way. Well, no. Well, I think that's why the second quality would be that you're proving yourself through your actions, right?
So what do you get with this? What do you need to do?
You have to act out on a daily basis. I'm getting some help from my friend, so he'd like to comment.
Muhammad is trying to say things for you. So go ahead, Muhammad. Can say that.
Courage or sacrifice, maybe, or ability to sacrifice. Courage, I think.
Why do you need courage? We can be a courageous leader, isn't it? Competent and with no courage. By the way, lots of people are like this. Courageous, they are competent with no courage.
But are they good leaders? We're describing good leaders, right?
Yeah. So why not? If I'm a very good leader, I can just push all the people to be courageous, and me, without courage, being behind them. She's a good leader.
That's not a good leader.
So you can
It's a good boss.
Go and do it.
That's.
Come back.
I don't know, maybe vision. Muhammad said it earlier. I think vision is very important.
I think it's, again, about teaching. So the Prophet ﷺ, if I'm not mistaken, maybe in his last khutbah might have said that I've left you my sunnah, the Quran and my sunnah. And basically he has demonstrated, but he's also taught them. So his whole life, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, in that the generations that...
The success is about how many followed him?
No, not how many followed him, but it was a success. The conquest of Mecca, the conquest of Mecca was not necessarily about numbers. It was about...
Depending on the numbers and the lands that you colonized?
No, it was not lands. Is that coming back to a place that wronged them, and the place actually recognizing that they were wrong. So.
Can you just tell me the conditions of success?
Humility.
SubhanAllah. I'm asking you. Tell me, how could you determine that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was successful? So you answer that any one of you here who is a believer should tell me. No?
I mean, we're still here. We're following in his message. We know his example. We know what he brought.
So you look at this, so it's a success.
No, when you said about Mecca, because the thing is, when he came back to Mecca, he was humble in his I think for the people of Mecca, they saw something that they had never seen, and probably in history that still resonates today, and that a conqueror coming.
In human terms, that the Prophet's mission, peace be upon him, was a success.
Yes, it was.
You can?
And it is. I mean, because it's still.
Who told you it was a success?
Who told me that it was a success, and that he had as many? I think you're trying to put me in a big trouble here.
You know, for many people of our faith, the success.
The proof of the transformation.
Is only based on the followers. They say there are 1.5 billion, so it was a success.
No, I think the proof is in the The proof is in the transformation.
Which transformation?
People who believe in the message and followed his example, the transformation. No. I'm saying that those people actually did the transformation. They saw the transformation. And anybody who is accepting Islam is not accepting it because it's a theology and I just believe. It's a process of transformation.
Parameter of success for you?
A process of transformation. That you can be better than what you are, because that's the intended goal of...
With all what the Muslims are doing around the world?
Well, they don't exactly represent. I mean, what the Prophet ﷺ did. I mean, in that if they did follow it, they would. And we've seen this. Those people who followed.
Lots of people.
Yeah.
So if somebody is looking at what the Muslims and who the Muslims are today, with all the people who are killed in the name of Muslims, is it a success?
I think the numbers might be exaggerated, seriously, because we're looking at history. We're looking at history. No. Yes, of course, exactly. Man qatala nafsan kana man qatala. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we're looking at history from the time of the Prophet to now. I mean, if we want to say about the process of transformation, if you do it, you know the transformation is. Yes.
So in fact, it's an equation. You will look at how many good, how many bad, more good than bad. So it's a success. So you are a capitalist with history.
No, I'm not.
So who are you?
History is still ongoing. That's what I'm saying. This transformation is still ongoing.
Okay, it will be a success then.
Well, yeah, but we can look at we can look at previous generations that have succeeded, those that truly did follow those footsteps, and Muslims are not. Islam is a success, but Muslims are not. Yes.
The message, the Islam, the Muslims.
Because they went away from the message.
So my question first was, how do you know it's a success when you are so confident by telling me it's a success, and at the end you say it will come?
Okay, I'll pass it on to somebody else. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but it is a success.
So the one who told you this was very convincing with great authority and competence to make you sure without telling me that.
The Quran, I mean.
It's the Quran that's telling you that it's a success.
Yes, the Quran is in there. You know, قد أفلح المؤمنون.
Okay, is it just the belief? Like I believe it is a success. Like
no, let us come to the question: is what is important in a leader to have? We said competence as knowledge in a specific field, with all the qualifications that are going to come with the specific field, depending on if we are talking about science, if we are talking about, for example, psychology. A leader in this needs all the qualification, wisdom when it comes to dealing with people, the way of listening to the followers. So it depends. All the sub-qualifications that we have in the field. If you come to the Prophet, you will see that, for example, the way he was dealing with ordinary, he was competent because he knew, he was the knowledgeable, he had the knowledge. And then when he was coming to people, very, very, very strange that somebody who came with such a message took so much time to listen to people, to ask and to respond to in different ways to the same question. Meaning that he was, so depending on the field, in social life, he had this psychology. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to the army, he had very specific qualifications. So competence has sub-qualification, and you can see this in everything. But there is something which is essential.
Learning.
Sorry?
Learning.
Learning? What do you mean?
Like, even if you are competent, is there still space to learn, to know? Like, you don't know, no one know everything. So even you are specialist in something, you still, if you want to, you listen, you learn, you understand, you analyze, then you respond. Like, I think.
Okay, that's fine. But in terms of leadership, when we were talking about this competence, now you have the competence. How are you going to keep this as to the relationship of authority with the people who are following?
It should be trustworthy from my...
Okay, trustworthy is based on what? How am I going to trust you?
From my actions.
And how am I going to deal with your actions? Yes. Remember what, I gave you what he said, the Prophet ﷺ said in the last sermon. But even what Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said when he came into power. Something which is essential with leadership. Okay?
I think it's to do with communication. So it has to be communication about listening to the other and then answering and responding. Okay. But I think it's you could be competent in a certain, okay, maybe it could be, but it still is an important...
And when it comes to the message, spreading the message and being competent with the substance of the message, part of the message has to do with communication. Has to do with the way the Prophet ﷺ, for example, when he was reading the Quran, was very slow in reading the Quran, meaning here there is a substance, it's heavy. These are heavy in سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا. قول الثقيل, it's very heavy words, so very slow. So he had the knowledge of the meaning and the competence to communicate. So so this is part of competence. But there is something else which was very important. So,
it's her turn. After her, I have something to say.
So go ahead, the mic is here and then we go for her.
I would like to give more than one word, and I prefer you choose one for me. Yeah. Either trustworthiness or justice. Justice, trustworthiness, or steadfastness. Yes, one of the three. Okay. Justice. Yeah, we need to decide. Yes.
What do I have to do next after I am competent? Then I have to have good relationship with my followers, which is actually loyalty, but not a passive loyalty, active one, active loyalty. This is, you helped me when you mentioned Abu Bakr, what he said on this al-bay'ah al-'ama. Yeah, he said, فإن أحسنت فأطيعوني وإن أسأت فقوموني. This is you are also as a followers. You are also as a followers actually leading me. Yeah. So with the followers, actually leadership starts and ends. Yes. And also we can now touch the point when we said actually the phenomenon of following some leaders, which are actually by the term were very strong leaders, but were unsuccessful, as an example of Hitler. Was he successful? The followers, they weren't successful because they did not actually follow the mission of their leader's mission actively. They were passive, just doing the orders. Yeah, this is, I think, specific to our Islamic framework. The loyalty, the active loyalty between leaders and followers.
But the loyalty is based on something else.
Love, I will say.
You are not obliged to love your leader.
No. There is something. Yes, but you mentioned this last time. This can be also specific something to our framework. You, as I remember last session, you mentioned that verse from the Quran, "In kuntum tuhibbunallaha fattabi'uni yuhibbukumullah," and here is not to love each other because it's better for us.
Is it an obligation, for example, you can see in specific field?
Pardon.
To tell you the truth. Now, if I look at some of the people who trained me, there were some who were very knowledgeable in fiqh, for example. Very knowledgeable. And I took a lot from them, but I didn't love them.
Why you didn't? Yeah, but this is not because of them.
No, very knowledgeable in their field, but when it comes to courage, justice, facing, I didn't love them. No, it's exactly the same. Look, be careful. You can partially acknowledge the competence of somebody, but it doesn't mean that you have to love him or her. Let's say, in this, you are competent, but you are not courageous. You are just competent even, and you are perverted. I don't love what you are doing, but from you, I can take your knowledge. For example, you can have people in their private life, they have no morality, but in their field, you better take from them because they are at the highest level. So you don't love them, but you trust their knowledge.
I think that higher purpose should be to
That's fine.
To try.
I'm not talking about the highest level of leadership. I'm trying to. No, but that's very important. That's very important that with leader, it's not about love. But there is another word, if I may, because I have to move and try to come with all what you are saying. There is something which was the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he was to live, he's talking to the one who sent him. Allahumma hal ballaghd. Meaning what? Accountability. Accountability. Did I do the work?
Yeah.
Omar, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, is, if I'm right, support. If I'm wrong, correct me. Meaning, I'm accountable. Accountability comes with accountability lots of very important ethical things. The first is, I said, you're not going to be accountable if you don't listen to people. So when you have amruhum shura bainahum, means you're accountable, you come back to the people. So you remember the Prophet, peace be upon him, just after they decided to go outside Uhud, he stood up, went and dressed to go. Meaning, and the people were surprised, he was against the decision, but he followed the decision. He's accountable. You decided, even though I'm against. Not only this, the story and the verses that you mentioned are coming after they were defeated by saying your decision was wrong, but the principle remained. The principle of being accountable, that you have to listen to the people. So competence is important, but not absolute with no limitation. Your competence is accountable, and you are accountable with your competence. And with this, what you have when it comes to this, what we are saying is that somebody who acknowledges this accountability, is humility is part of it, is that, you know, being accountable doesn't mean I'm going to be successful all the time, but I acknowledge the fact that I can be failing. So it's humility part of it. It's communication, it's part of this accountability. If you are accountable, you listen to what the people have to say, the way they are assessing what you did. And also exactly when the Prophet ﷺ was accountable of his leadership, he was listening to somebody who in the strategy of war, in war strategy, was more knowledgeable than him. So he showed that he's ready to listen and to change. So to move. So accountability is also for a leader, not only to be the leader for once for all, but to be able to listen and to correct and to reform. That's all coming from accountability, which is so important in the whole process. And we have this in every situation of the Prophet's life, something which is important. And then it's also something which is interesting, is that it's also to acknowledge the competence that you might have And this is also the story which was very important in the Prophet's life. When he decided to send Usama, who was 20, as the leader of people, and some of the narrations are saying that even Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was one of them. Not all of them, but Omar was. So the people who are very, very experienced, they say, you know what? Now he's the one who is going to lead you. So he has the competence, even though he's young. And then it's also for you to acknowledge the fact that with all this, he is accountable of this power that he has in a very specific period of time. So the relationship here between competence and coming back to the one who is accountable of his authority to give the authority to somebody who is and he's younger than you. That's essential. So there is one which is essential now from an Islamic perspective, which makes the difference now. You can see that in a democratic system, if you have competence and accountability, it works. What is needed now? In every field. So for example, in a transnational corporation, competence, accountability, always. So in any pluralistic system which is based on what we believe, amruhum shura bainahum, so that we have to take decision in a collective way, you need to have the competence which gives you authority, accountability that is confirming your competence. And then you come back to the people. You are assessed. You are assessed. So there is no authority, which is, for us, anything should be based on assessment. So the success of the Prophet ﷺ, it's coming from the Quran telling us that he was assessed and he was successful. Not because of the people, not because of the number, not because of history, because the Quran is telling you this is a story. He spread the message. You got it. By the very essence of the book is telling you it's a success. Now, if the people are telling you no, it's not. In fact, you believe it's a success because you believe the Quran is telling you it's a success, so it's coming from God. It's a success, and it will be a success. The only thing here, the successfulness of the whole thing, it's coming from what you believe in. Because if you are outside, if you are not if you are not a Muslim, or if you are coming from the Christian tradition, you might say, no, apparently it's a question of, in terms of number, it could be a success. In terms of morality, it's not. Look at what is happening now. So they can shaken your confidence by numbers. You respond by faith, not by numbers. So by definition, the Quran is telling you, don't look at history in capitalistic terms. Because if you look at history in capitalistic terms, you are lost. And don't look at history through a postmodern frame of reference, because the postmodern frame of reference is targeting first the very essence that the Quran, or there is one truth. There is no. You get my point?
Yeah.
Essential. Now there is something which is going to be specific to many ideologies, many religions, many spiritualities when defining leadership. Which is?
Faith and justice.
No, it's what are you expecting? What are you expecting from a leader? Faith? How the face of a leader is going to be visible? And how would you say this? It has to be ethical, and in fact it's integrity, it's uprightness. This is something which is what we call a leader in Islamic terms, which is the answer to the Machiavellian telling you no matter what, the goals justify the means. You say no. The means should be ethical, the goals should be ethical, everything has to be ethical, and your leadership should be ethical. Meaning what? Transparency, no corruption, justice, and then also it's connected to don't pretend to be competent if you are not. So it's also about your own qualification. It has to have an ethical. Sorry?
Being honest.
Honest. It's this is exactly this is exactly what we are talking about. So and then what I'm talking about here, it's something which is even the Prophet ﷺ, before becoming the leader, what was very important in the fact that he became the leader is that he was acknowledged before being the leader with two great qualification, ethical qualification. As-Sadiqul Amin, what you said before, truthful and trustworthy. That's very important. These are the ethical dimensions which are important. And then in the way he was also dealing with the people. And what I was saying, I'm sorry, when it comes now to a leader, you started by saying the goals should be clear. When you add uprightness or honesty or integrity, you have to have it in a clear way. Not only the means are important, but the moral qualification of the means. The goals only are not important, the means are important. So that's a very big discussion that you might ask yourself. At the end, is it possible to do something, to use wrong means to achieve just goals? So if you are telling me it's not possible to kill innocent people in Islam, is it possible to kill innocent people? Could you have something which is collateral damages? In the name of killing one, you can kill. No. That's ethically a problem. So when your cause is just, could you ethically kill innocent people? No. In a moral term, you can't. Some are going to come with, we have to balance the thing. But in ethical terms, your means should be ethical. Killing innocent people in the name of a just goal is problematic in ethical terms. Sure. Not only everywhere in the world, but you also have to assess this even in Palestine. Even in Palestine. So where are you putting your trust? If you rely on him and say, you know what, a young Israeli citizen, 8 years old, is potentially a military, so I'm allowed to kill him. The great majority for years were accepted. Is that right? In ethical term. That can you kill innocent people, and they say, okay, even in the dream of one of and you know the story that the daughters and the sons of the people who were fighting the Prophet ﷺ, he saw them in paradise. So innocence is something which is very important in Islamic terms. So you cannot, and when he was sent Usama, say, not the children, not the women, not the religious people, not nature, you don't touch them. You don't touch them, meaning your means are as important than your mission at the end. You are not going to free people by killing innocent people. And the great majority of the Muslims are not clear on that. Or they were pushed to become clearer today, because for years they were not. So what is the justified resistance and what are the justified means? That's something which is essential in your discussion. Having said that, and I'm sorry because it took a long time with the first one, what is important, and I just want to summarize before we leave, but with the three main characteristics: competence, you say integrity or uprightness, and accountability. Okay, you can put them in that. And with all of them, with every one of them, you have a list of other qualities that are important. This is where, sorry, there is something which is important now, coming to the followers. So what you are expecting in leadership is also for the followers, not to end up following somebody in emotional terms, because your emotions are not going to assess the competence of the leader. So why do we have a crisis with authority in Islam today? Is very often we follow charismatic leader, not for the message and the competence, but the way they can frame the whole thing. That's the crisis that we are experiencing. That's the reality of it. So it comes to the followers, and we assess the followers, say, tell me on which ground you are following the leader. Is it based on the competence? Are you experiencing accountability? Accountability means that you have to have a critical mind. There is no accountability if you don't have followers using the critical mind. So there should be, in anything which has to do with competence coming from the leader, a space where the followers are assessing the competence of the leader. Assessing. It means that you have to assess the competence and the limits of his or her competence and the reality of his or her competence. That's, once again, something which is expected by whom? Not only by the leaders to provide this, but the followers. they should ask and they should require and they should claim what is the very essence of following somebody, is this space to assess your competence and to address your competence, or the limits of your competence is that I follow you up to this, but not beyond that. Which means the Prophet ﷺ telling to the followers, for anything which is coming from God, it's me, but your worldly affair is you. I can't assess that. To the point that he's saying, if two of you come and one of you is lying at me, this one is doing the worst sin ever. Why? Because he's using me in the way I'm the prophet in worldly affairs where I can't know. So he's misusing my authority. And in this, that's something which is so essential. So who should do that? The followers. So the authority of the followers is to circumscribe the authority of the leader, not the other way around. So it's a two-way process. So this is something that we are expecting. So when it comes to the authority, when it comes to the accountability, it's very important to come with, and this is why any alim at the beginning, and starting from the companions, and then with the Salaf al-Salih, we're not giving a fatwa within giving space for the one who is getting a legal opinion to question the opinion. And this is why a fatwa is an opinion. It's not hukm. So meaning an opinion means what? It's your opinion. And because it's your opinion, I have the right and the duty to question the reasons of your opinion. How do you call this in contemporary terminology? Critical thinking. No, not even ijtihad, questioning the ijtihad. You have an ijtihad, that's fine, and I acknowledge, I can respect it. I acknowledge that there is human agency, but I want to understand the rationale behind what you are giving me. So I'm not going to take your personal opinion because it's you. So you never blindly follow a leader. Never, ever. Not because he's nice, because he's smart, because he's charismatic, which is the crisis that we have now. Ask yourself, and this is why I ask you sometimes the question, why are you following the one you are following? Based on what? Their competence? Because you like them? Because in fact, in one of the surveys that we had in the States is that more than 70% of the people who are following the leaders are following the leaders because the leaders are saying what they were expecting them to say, which is a vicious circle. You are following the ones that are pleasing you at the end. And when they are pleasing you, it's more emotional than critical. So the lack of critical thinking among Muslims is the hypertrophy of the emotional side of everything. So the less you are critical in questioning the authority, the more emotional you are in following authorities. This is what is happening. So this is why it's an important topic here, is question who you are following and why you are following and why you are doing this. The other thing which is important is two things. It's for the followers to understand in this accountability is a space for them to improve. So in fact, the leader is not only the one who is leading the followers, but helping them. Because at the end, which is also very important, it's to understand that kullukum ra'in. You are all are going to have authority somewhere. So when you are following is in which way the fact that you are following is helping you to be a leader in one or the other field. Because at the end, we are all leaders somewhere. So following somewhere should help you to lead somewhere else, or in the same field if you are getting this competence. By the way, you know what is al-ijaza? When I'm saying, for example, when I got ijazat in specific, they were telling me what? Al-ijazat is telling me what? When my sheikh sitting with me say, this is the ijaza, he is transmitting to me the right to teach. So I was taught, now you teach. So from a follower, you're going to be a leader. So this is critical, is how do you give me the space to grow? And this is why with the Prophet ﷺ, all the companions, we are finishing, all the companions had this space to grow. The companions were not, even in the discussion in Surah Al-Hujurat, about this the discussion that you have verses of the Quran speaking about the tensions between Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab. This is in the Quran, meaning that they were following one, but they were able to think independently. So this space to grow intellectually and in the field is important. And the last, and not the least one, which is very important, is how much a leader who has power, a woman or a man, is giving space for the followers to be a counterpower, which is very important, a counterpower which is be critical of the way it's done, and it's part of accountability. Counterpower, it's part of, and by the way, it might be very important to think about the power of counterpower, so how this is translated in the whole discussion. I'm sorry, I had to summarize the last part of it about the followers. I would have liked to have all the discussion, but we needed another session. But just to summarize the whole thing, what we did. The first terminology, it's important. Definition of leadership. Please try to avoid, when you come to such a discussion, to straight away making an Islamic discussion on concept. No, there are concepts and there are notions that we need to understand, and then not to come to a reduction, a moral reduction of the notion, because that's not legitimate. I was not talking about this. It's leadership first. And with leadership, the whole dimension that we were talking about when it came to understanding what is the notion. We also try to deal with the different dimension, the principles and the means and the goals, the sources that are helping you. And here in this discussion today, we were talking about the principles as much as the sources, coming from the Quran and the Sunnah, and coming from the objective notions that we have in our understanding. So this is also something which is important. And then the three main qualities that we mentioned were first competence, and then competence means all the other sub-qualification, accountability and integrity as three main things, and we can then come with the and then when it comes to the followers, everything which has to do with the space to think, the space to question, the space to grow, and the space to contest, to be a counterpower, which is also something which it's important in all process. There is no way to speak about shura if within the shura there is no space to be against the decision. Against, if not, it's just not a shura. It's just pretending that it's a pluralistic, which, by the way, it's very often what we do at all the levels within the Muslim community. We speak about pluralism, and in fact, either the decision is taken before even we start talking, lack of transparency. And some are saying, oh yeah, yes, it's maybe a lack of transparency, but you know what? We know better than them, so we are helping the process. You know, taking a bad, immoral decision in the name of so-called moral conclusions. Look at many Muslim organizations, institutions. That's too often the case. So this is where the integrity and the process, transparency is so important. Okay, thank you for coming the two days. Take good care of yourself. Don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them. And try to be, if you are not a leader, a good follower by questioning and loving as part of an essential things. Thank you so much. Ma salam.